What's the dumbest thing anyone has ever said to you? My family is African American. Growing up, I lived in an all-white neighborhood and went to an all-white middle school and high school. Because of this, all of my friends were white and we had a few awkward moments. I never ran into any racism, and the community was super accepting, but I did run into stereotypes and things like that, especially from people's parents. One day I'm at a friend's house and he pulls out a huge canister of hot sauce called something like nuclear death from his refrigerator that's inside of a large prescription pill-like bottle to keep it away from children. He dares me to put some on my finger and lick it off, and of course I'm not gonna back down, so I do it. It was the hottest thing I've ever put in my mouth. I had to suck down glass after glass of water to make the pain go away. It took an hour for the burn to subside completely. We go into his room and start playing Super Smash Brothers, and I completely forget about washing my hands. At one point, I get up and go into the kitchen to get a drink of water, and his mom is sitting at the kitchen table reading. Right before I open the fridge door, I rub my eyes, with the hot sauce still on my fingers. Suddenly, I'm screaming and jumping up and down from the pain in my eyes. I felt like they were being burned out of my skull. His mom looks over at me for a moment, then chuckles to herself, but never moves from the table. My buddy hears my screams of death from his room and comes sprinting into the kitchen to help me. Between my cries of pain, I tell him what just happened. He yells at his mom asking why she didn't get up to help. She just shrugs her shoulders and says, "I thought he was rapping."
My husband wants me to sign a contract that I'll have intimacy with him X times a week. I honestly can't believe I'm asking this, but my boyfriend has gotten so mad that I'm feeling a little crazy now. We're both 34, he had a terrible marriage before me that ended in a dead bedroom, and he's determined to never go back to that life again. Understood. I think that sucked for him to experience. So now he wants a prenup and literally wrote in the prenup that we will have sex X amount of times a week, or else I get absolutely nothing in the divorce. I had already agreed to a 50-50 prenup of marital assets, and we keep what we came into the marriage with. Now that's not enough for him. He wants me to prove that I won't stop having sex with him in the future. I tell him I can't prove the future, and putting something in writing doesn't prove that. Now he says I must have a guilty conscience if I won't sign these terms, because if I'm so certain it won't happen, then what's the problem? But to me, it makes me feel like a sex slave and not a loved wife or partner. Am I the a-hole for being unhappy with this contract? Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my husband in front of his friends? I, 26F, am married to John, 25M. I met him a few years back when my best friend and his best friend started dating. After that our friend groups kind of merged together. I've known my best friend Pam for 15 years. We've always been extremely close and lived together at one point. She's literally part of my family and comes to all of my family events. My siblings refer to her as their sister. Now, my husband and I have a 6-month-old daughter. My dad is extremely wealthy, so he helps us out financially until my daughter is old enough to go to school. Then I will take a job at his company that pays well. My husband has a job that he works from 7 till 4, and then afterwards him and his friends often hang out at my house or at one of their houses. Here's the problem. My husband's best friend cheated on my best friend a few weeks ago. She's completely heartbroken, and since they live together my husband and I agreed that it's okay that she stays with us until they work things out. Pam is a huge help with the baby. When my husband and his friends get home they normally talk until 8, so he doesn't help with the baby. Yesterday night my husband opened the front door, peeked his head in, looked right at me and Pam, rolled his eyes and walked out. Him and his friends came in a few moments later and were all being cold and rude to Pam all evening. After an hour or two my husband walks right up to me and Pam and says, "Does she always have to be here? I want to bring, cheater friend, here tonight," and rolled his eyes. I responded, "If I want to bring my best friend into the house my dad paid for, I can, and if I choose to have somebody help me with the baby that you're not looking after, it's going to be her." His friends just sat there silently and he just walked away and sat back down. He's giving me the silent treatment and Pam left and is staying with her mom as she feels uncomfortable being in the house now. So am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for apologizing to my ex-wife about my cheating? My ex-wife and I got divorced 2 years ago, because of infidelity from my side. We share a daughter together. Our relationship had its problems, but we just weren't mature enough to handle them. After my divorce I felt enormous guilt. I loved my ex and losing her hurt me pretty bad. So I found socially acceptable ways to punish myself. I would exercise in the gym until I almost passed out. I did pass out 2 times. I would take up crap ton of workload and stay awake for days. I would eat bland food and gave up my favorite food because I felt bad if I enjoyed something. To outsiders I was on a self-improvement plan. I was actually self-destructing. I became distant from my daughter. I was in physical pain all the time. My feelings for my ex-wife faded. I just felt empty. So I finally started a recovery process. I go to the gym healthily, work normal hours, and spend more time and effort with my daughter. It was not all waste though. I am in best shape of my life. I actually got promoted 3 times in the last 2 years. I am mentally more healthy and I smile more. I had potato chips for first time in 2 years. Yesterday, when I dropped my daughter to her house my ex commented that I have been smiling more lately, whereas I always used to frown. I have been more open to talking with my ex now, and I did open up to her about my journey and my issues, etc. We spent Christmas together and I did give her an apology for the first time without any expectations of forgiveness for my cheating. She said that she can't ever forgive me and I told her I understand and accept it. She stopped engaging with me after that. Like gave me one-word responses and would avoid me. Then she suddenly started crying and would not tell me what's wrong. She told me to leave. For past week, she has been short with me. She avoids me when I am there to pick my daughter. It all started after my apology. Was I wrong? Part 1 of 2. My wife refuses to talk to me after I told her I don't want to talk to her, but I don't see how what I did was wrong. My wife and I have been together for 6 years. She used to talk to me all the time. She used to share her day with me, just randomly tell me her thoughts, stuff like that. However, she also used to want to talk about problems we were having a lot. It felt like we were always talking about what I did wrong. She thought I spent too much time talking to exes. We were friends. I didn't prioritize her over work. It's my career. Am I supposed to quit? And mostly that I didn't care enough about her, which was just completely false. There were so many different ways that she came to that conclusion. But it was like we were just always sitting down for a serious talk. So, I told her about a year ago that I didn't want to talk with her anymore. I was just tired of hearing everything I was doing wrong. I provide everything we need. Can I just have a break from her nagging me? I told her that if she had a problem with the way I did things, then she could get out of my house and we'd get a divorce. She told me that she was trying to communicate because she didn't feel appreciated and that I had one foot out the door. But I think that's ridiculous.